Hey everybody, Goosebumps for Dummies here, and today I bring you one of my most personally highly anticipated videos on this channel. My book review for Screams in the Night, the live on stage Goosebumps book that came out alongside the stage play. I'm sure they gave these out, I believe, to the audience. It's like, hey, there you go. Thank you for joining. If you do, if you don't, go fuck yourself. Yeah, they give them out like that. Now, I've been wanting to talk about this one for positive reasons. I think you can get my point where I'm going with this. And, because this is one of the most interesting and fun and just least talked about books. It's crazy. Nobody talks about this book. Mostly because nobody can find it. It's pretty rare, but it's not that hard to come by on eBay. They're always on there, though they're not usually a great deal. They're usually like in the 40s or 30s, higher up there in prices. Yeah, nobody really has this book. Not many people do. If you fucking don't, go pick it up right now. This is worth the money. I'll just say that straight up. Yeah, I don't want to extend this too much because this is already a second recording, so yeah, without further ado, let's get to the blurb. Oh wait, there isn't one, but let's just cut the segment already. So like I said, there ain't no blurb, but I will talk about a little bit what's going on inside this book. So, we have these 4 kids, I believe there's 4, I don't fucking know. Yeah, they're walking home, and they come across this shop, because they have to call their dad. So, they're like, okay, the shop looks open, and it's like a bookstore. So, they go into the bookstore, and they meet this creepy shop owner. Inside the bookstore, there's some very eye-catching stuff. Like, there's a Slappy doll, and there is a giant projector in the room, I believe. And there's a Goosebumps book. Yeah, that's pretty weird, but whatever. And they kind of stay here for a while, they try to get in contact with their dad, I think. I don't really know, because it's been a kind of a while. I have read this back in August. I still remember this one pretty vividly, though, because we'll get to why in a minute. So, they use this giant projector, and they watch some interesting stories. But as the stories play out, they realize something's off about them. And every time one plays throughout, one of them disappears. And that's all I'm going to tell y'all, without going into spoilers. So, this book is simply all-time favorites here. This one is so godly high on my list of, so far, 120 Goosebumps books at the moment, but I've read about 180 currently. Yeah, this one is super fucking high. This is top 3. Kind of shocking how high this one got. I was just like, okay, yeah, this will be a pretty good one. Maybe a 9 out of 10. This is an 11 out of 10. This is one of the just simply greatest Goosebumps books I've ever read. So yeah, there's a reason to go pick this one up. It is right below Blavete Everyone and Egg Monsters from Mars, still #1. To this day, I can't get over that story. I literally had a 30-minute think about that story. I'm like, do I really need it at #1? And I still said yes, because it's just that good. So, without further ado, let's get into the upsides. I am dying to talk about this book. First upside, there are so many references in this book, and most of them are kind of vague, they don't even point it out, GYG books do, which isn't bad, I just like seeing that, but there's so many references in this book, it just feels so nice and warm and comforting. It's like a love letter to the fans, basically. And funny enough, there's some of the more popular ones even still, so it shows how much this book is aged. Except for one. And yeah, there are heavy references in Pacific to Night of the Living Dummy, Horrorland, Phantom of the Auditorium, which is relating to the second story, but whatever. Stay Out of the Basement, that one's a major one. Haunted Mask, I believe, was referenced, especially with the shopkeeper. Goosebumps, the fucking franchise in general, because there's a Goosebumps book and the twist. Monster Blood, hella referenced. And I think that's it. There might be another one, but I can't remember on the top of my head. Yeah, those are, like, the main, like, 7 references in this book. And it is a wild time with those, because all of them do have some sort of relation to the story. Haunted Mask, not really, and Horrorland, not really. But still, it is really, really, really fun with all those, neat little references you can spot that do play into the story and aren't just there for the sake of, being, oh, hey, it's Monster Blood. Besides, like, kind of just to be there. Yeah, so basically, the way these are used are a whole nother upside. The references actually being utilized. Monster Blood and Slappy. Slappy has his own entire segment, which does take place in Horrorland, I think. If not, obviously reference to carnivals and Goosebumps in general. It could be Carnival of Horrors, could be something else entirely. Maybe Carnival World from Please Don't Feed the Weirdo, even though that is, that came out like 20 years later. Yeah, it is, it is crazy how some of these are used. Because like I said, Slappy and Monster Blood in Pacific got hella used. And let me just say, Slappy may or may not consume Monster Blood. Say how the basement basically got entirely just, like, completely referenced in the first story, first little mini story that you get with the projector. And yeah, it's basically completely fucking reversed. And it now takes place in the attic. Stay out of the attic, I guess you'd call it. And there's snakes. Really interesting. Let's just say there's a giant motherfucking snake up there. And we got aliens. Yeah. I mean, we're in the spoilers now. Second story, Phantom, obviously, hella reference. I think there's Haunted Mask references there too, but like I said, I don't know where, but I know there were Haunted Mask references somewhere in this book. And yeah, Goosebumps, very obvious, and that did play into the twist. Heavily into the twist. Yeah, all the references got somewhat utilized heavily in this book, and that's just great. I really love that. The entire story, like all the little stories in it and the main story, are their own upside. It's all good. We got the banger opening, the banger conclusion, and the banger little, mini segments. They're all good. They're all great, at least great, with the main story. The mini stories, well, some of them vary in quality. No. The second one is definitely the weakest, since it is the shortest and is based off a more weaker Goosebumps book. We've got the first story, which is fantastic, and even the second story is pretty damn good. But yeah, first story, it's so good. So good. And then we have the third story, which is hands down like one of the best things to come from this book. It is just so fun and crazy to read. Yeah, they're all the stories and stuff, all the little segments are all great. Fucking awesome. Even the weakest one is super good, like nearly 10 out of 10. And, oh boy, this next reference is one you didn't see coming. Slappy himself is, like, the scariest he's ever been in a Goosebumps book. If you're a Slappy fan, you're gonna love this book. And I really do like Slappy, if I'm being honest. I know, stereotype Goosebumps fan here. Yeah, I love Slappy books. Most of them do have at least pretty good quality. I usually find them to be pretty fun to read. And of course, when Slappy's on screen, he's obviously the star. He's the highlight of the book. This book, Slappy is like a show stealer. Not because he's in most of it, he's only in a third of it, if I'm being honest, the final story. And he even comes to life, I believe, in the twist. If not, he is still present in the main story as, a doll on a shelf. Yeah. Slappy's Funhouse segment is like the scariest Slappy segment in all of Goosebumps. I'll stand by that forever because Slappy grows into like a 20-foot tall giant after consuming Monster Blood, and he fucking wins. Or it's left up to debate. Maybe the military can take him down, but I don't fucking know. Holy crap, that was awesome. Slappy is putting these kids' lives, genuine, actual life, at danger. They are dangling over very large pits. They're in scenarios that involve getting pretty hurt if that goes pretty wrong. And it's not good looking for them. And they have a time limit. It's like a fucking Saw game. It is scary. It is genuinely tense. I found myself biting my fingernails with this one. Yeah, Slappy's moment in this book is just, it's just a huge, huge highlight. He is fantastic. Next up, we have the ending. It is probably the greatest ending in all Goosebumps, because it's just such an oddball ending, and it's so out there. Let's just shorten this down. The main character basically realizes they are in a Goosebumps story. And it just leaves off there with realizing they're never gonna get out of it. Oh, fuck. It's pretty dark. It's pretty rare to see a self-aware kind of ending. I don't think we've ever gotten that in Goosebumps. The closest you ever gotten to that was a Series 2000 book, which only involved being in a book. I'll just say that. If you know, you know. Yeah, we've never actually gotten like, oh, we're in a Goosebumps story? That's crazy. We've never gotten that. Maybe in GUIG, maybe. But I've never seen a single Goosebumps book thus far have that kind of ending. That is crazy. And my final upside is obviously the pictures. Yeah, weird. So the pictures in this book are really interesting. We got fucking illustrations. That is really cool. But we also have giant pictures like this. I already showed one. Here's a giant cobra. Really sick. And yeah, I think they're done by Jacobs. If not, oh, damn good at replicating his art style. And yeah, we got some else in the book, which is nice highlight. They're technically part of the story because they're in the book. So, pretty awesome. And yeah, this book is seriously, I mean, it's gonna get a seriously high rating. Yeah, let's get to the downsides. If I had this book in my top fucking 3, would you like expect there to be downsides? Sure. I have books that are in very high, very, very high parts of my ranking, like top 20 out of the 100 I've read, or so, 180 something. Yeah, it's got no downsides. I mean, Ghost in the Mirror, which is right behind this, like directly fucking behind it, has downsides, and it's still 10 out of 10 in top 4. But, like, you know, the books with downsides make them perfect. Nothing's perfect. And even the downside books have 10 out of 10s. But my 10 out of 10s even still have, you know, flaws. And are just barely making it into the 10 out of 10 mark. Yeah, this is a good example of another spotless Goosebumps book, but it's more taste-related. If it's not your kind of thing, I don't blame you. And yeah, let's move to the rating, I guess. I think it's pretty obvious. I'm giving this book a 0 out of 10. It is probably one of the most diabolically bad things that I've ever read. And that is Hunter Coleman's level of hot takes, especially Phantom of the Auditorium. Holy shit, that book was mid. Yeah! This book gets a very obvious... Oh, I'm gonna hit my nose real quick. 10 out of 10. Yeah, I can't make it any more fucking clear for you. And that is going to do it for this book review. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is, like I said, a top 3 of all time, and just read it. Read it. Read it. Buy it. It's worth the money. Go read it, y'all. Yeah, that is all I have to say for this book. I don't want to drag on this video any longer, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.